Thanks for watching us here on Fox 11. I'm going to send things up to Stu Mundell and Sky Fox. Stu, you're over a massive cliff collapse in Palos Verdes Estates. What can you tell us? What's going on here?
Well, Brooke, we can tell you the Sky Fox was here when it happened. Yes, you heard my voice just crack right there because it was amazing. Let's just go right to that video. We came out here because we understood that there was something going on. As we made our way out here, we did see the crime tape. We saw the Torrance PD down there on the beach, but we couldn't really pinpoint exactly where it was. And then my pilot, today it's Dylan, was saying, you know, go wide. It's happening right now. And we did. We pulled out wide, and you can just see that entire hillside come tumbling down onto the beach. Now, the fire department, that would be LA County Fire Department, was here on scene, and of course a lot of law enforcement. They were keeping people away from this area, but you were pointing out just before we went live, there's that pickup truck there because there were vehicles here. Now, nobody was inside that truck when that hillside came tumbling down, but you can see how all those rocks and sand and dirt basically pushed that truck out closer out towards the water. You can see right there how those wheels were digging in as it got pushed aside. Ford Truff, that's pretty much true right there. But right now, that whole hillside come tumbling down. This is going to be in, like you said, it's going to be in the Palos Verdes Estates area, part of somebody's backyard out here. Now, no injuries. That's what we're hearing right now. That is fantastic, but it is a lot of hanging debris up here as this portion of this backyard now a little bit smaller as we saw that huge hillside collapsing right there. You can see portion of that fence is still up there. Right now, though, it's still very dangerous. After the big major part fell down, we did see some smaller pieces falling down, and the dirt continues to slide. So this is definitely not cleared at this time, but right now we can tell you we did see that huge collapse. I don't know if you've ever seen something like that. I can tell you personally I have not. It was pretty amazing to watch.
Yeah, Stu, if you haven't seen it, I definitely have not seen it. Yeah, I want to take a look at this video once again because, as you said, fire crews were already on scene, right? Tell me about that.
Well, apparently, I mean, our assignment desk said that they had some sort of mudslide or a road collapse out here. They gave us a name of Beach Club Road. We made our way down to the general area. Many times we don't have any kind of exact address. We were trying to find that street, Beach Club Road. Still haven't found it, but we can tell you we made our way out here to the shoreline. We saw the trucks and the PD, and then we saw this portion of the road with that crime tape right there. So we were looking. There was actually fire trucks up over on the top of the hillside as well. So we knew we were in the area, and we we're just kind of looking around to see where this could possibly be at. And that's when, like I said, Dylan, my pilot, eagle eye, of course, called it out. He said, just go wide, it's happening right now. And then we captured that huge slide that was happening out here onto the beach. Again, no injuries. That's amazing. Thank goodness there was nobody inside that truck. That truck not covered in any kind of dirt, but there's always that possibility for injuries. But take a look. You know, I can't say exactly how far it moved, but it did move several feet, maybe 15, 20 feet, as that hillside came tumbling down, pushing that truck out of the way. Again, though, that hillside collapsing just moments ago out here. Sky Fox here, we did see it. Now, the fire department is here. The Torrance PD is here. The fire department being LA County Fire. Of course, we've seen it in the past. Like I said, we've never actually seen one happen, but we've covered a couple of these. Right now, they're probably going to think, or they know that hillside's still not stable, so they're going to keep people away from it. There's a possibility more might fall, but right now that huge portion coming down just about maybe not even 10 minutes ago. And like you said, you got it there on tape. It was amazing to watch. Thank goodness nobody was hurt.
Thank goodness nobody was hurt. So I want to talk about that because you've said no one was in the truck, and just watching that truck be pushed aside like that is mind-blowing. Yes. But then again, we're seeing that this was someone's beautiful backyard. There's a home up there. People live there. Our officials are clear at this time that no one was hurt.
Well, we're hearing nobody was hurt. It's LA County Fire down there on scene, Torrance Fire Department. We're hearing nobody was hurt. It's Rosarita Place is the actual street that's up here that this house is on. We haven't even seen a homeowner come out. Possibly they are not home at this time. There's a little bench out there. You know, their view of the ocean just got a little bit closer this afternoon because you can see how that whole hillside came down. That's the original fencing from that property. property, and there's a lot of foliage still up here too. Those roots probably just what's holding that dirt in place right now. And again, the fire department down there on scene. If there would have been somebody or possibility of somebody that might have been there, they would have been quick to be jumping into action to try to save lives. But right now, you can see they knew that this was the area that was unstable. They had the crime tape, the caution tape up on both sides of this area. Apparently, maybe there might have been smaller slides earlier today, but that big one happened about a couple of minutes ago, and it's just like I said, I can't wait to watch it again and again. It was pretty amazing to see, and again, we have to be clear, no injuries. That makes it even more awestruck. Made me even more awestruck to watch it because nobody got hurt.
Yeah, it's incredibly lucky nobody got hurt, and absolutely, it is mind-blowing to see. Let's if we can see it again while we talk about this, Stu. No one was hurt, and we're happy about that, but as we're saying, you know, this is, you know, there's this area. There was a truck down there, obviously, an emergency crew truck, and upstairs up there is a home. Any word on evacuations there? Rosarita Drive, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I believe that's the name of the street, but yeah, place actually, Rosarita Place. But yeah, we haven't seen anybody come out many times in the past. Like we've watched people kind of come out in their backyard. They apparently not even aware that this is going on. Possibly, most likely, not even they don't even know because they're not home. The fire department, the LA County fire truck, farther away. The one that we saw was over here in a parking lot, and this is over by the actual beach club. And now it all kind of makes sense because they were saying it was Beach Club Drive was where the road or the slide was happening, and I believe that's probably going to be this pathway here. It's not officially named, and it takes you down to the water. But and again, this is the area where you can see the police department was there. That's going to be Torrance PD, and then you have that caution tape up, and then the other trucks, except for that blue one right there, they were all farther away to the north of this. To the north of this. So they were aware of what was going on. You can see a number of people staging a little bit farther away. But, you know, that noise it must have made, that was the one thing. We didn't hear it inside the helicopter clearly, but I can imagine what that sounded like down there as this thing came tumbling down. That's another truck just like the one that got pushed, so it gives you an idea of the size of that thing. And it just got pushed along as the rocks and the dirt and everything came sliding down, pushing that vehicle in that sand. You actually can see some of that, the tires, how they dug in as it just pushed it out of the way. You can't imagine what the tonnage right there is for all this rock and debris coming down that hillside. But this afternoon, we watched it fall. Thank goodness nobody was hurt. And of course, a portion of that beach is going to be closed. And they're going to be here for some time because they just got to make sure that that whole hillside is going to be stable and safe. Because just that portion falling, there might be more that's loose dirt that may possibly come down later on. And of course, we've been hearing it all morning, haven't we, Brooke, about the weather? It's going to be raining. I'm sure that's going to add to some of that unstable land out here.
No, that's a good point. You say it's unstable. Unstable indeed. It sure was. There was a risk there. Sandra Indo actually has biked in this area before, saying that she has seen signs of beware of falling rocks. Stu, I know you said you've never seen anything like this before. Neither have I. When you see signs, you know of a risk. You know what's possible, but this is still almost unbelievable. You just don't expect to see what we just saw.
Definitely, definitely. I was moving that camera along the beach there, looking at that truck and other vehicles on the beach, trying to figure out what they were standing around or nearby. And that's when that slide happened. Again, I can't give enough credit to Dylan, the pilot today. He just started yelling, "Go wide, go wide, go wide! It's happening!" I was taking a look right there. I'm sure you guys have saw that too, but it does seem like there's a huge gap here in that hillside. You know, there's a lot of times that's just natural. It might look like it's something, but that definitely looks like a portion of land right there that might move again shortly. And again, if those rains start coming down and the water starts making their way through there, that might loosen up a lot of this dirt. This slide might not be over as of yet, but right now the fire department here, along with Torrance PD, and I'm sure they're going to be keeping everybody far away from there. And you've seen they've made no effort to go get that truck out of there. Of course, property is nothing compared to lives. So right now they're probably figuring it's safer to stay away than try to go over there and try to move that truck.
And Sandra Indo actually just joining us here in the studio. If we can see that video once again. Sandra, this is just, I've never seen anything like this. Have you?
Well, this is an area that has been known for unstable ground. As you see right there, wow. Definitely impacting, obviously, as you're seeing the structure there, as well as that pickup truck, it looks like. But this is the first time I'm seeing the video, but being familiar with that area. If you go around the loop, which really goes around the peninsula right there, around Palos Verdes, on PV Drive, it's a well-known area for bicyclists and motorists to go around that area. There are signs saying beware of falling rocks and unstable ground. So this is an area that is known for shifting geological movements. And if you remember back years ago, Marineland was located around that area. Now it's the Palos Estates and the resort there, as well as the Trump golf course around that area as well. But clearly there was a design flaw in terms of a lot of what can be put on that land because of the fact that they have known that these cliffs, this area is unstable and constantly shifting. So there are signs around that neighborhood and throughout PV Estates indicating that, you know, this is not stable ground when you talk about years and years of movement. Obviously, day to day, nobody feels it, nobody expects it. There are signs, though, warning people. But taking a look at the beach and along the coast area right here, what you're looking at, this is not a very populated beach. It's not a place where you're going to see lots of families hanging out because of those cliffs. And obviously, it's very scenic, and but it's difficult to get to. It's not an area where families can just roll up in their cars and then make their access to the beach. So that's why you're not seeing a lot of people out there. Of course, it is chilly as well, so not a lot of beach goers. So that is the one benefit of what you're looking at right there, that this would happen in a place where there's not a lot of families, not a lot of people, but a very scary situation, as you see from that golf course, obviously just falling down. And if you were on that land and that hole, obviously playing that hole, if you're playing golf, that would be a very treacherous situation. And obviously for that pickup truck that you saw there, really getting devastated by that.
Yeah, it was Sandra. I mean, you saw that tape. It was amazing to watch out there. There was something that must have cued these people off that it was happening. Possibly, this portion right here, I don't think was what was falling just that we actually captured. I think this was the new slide that happened that got LA County Fire Department out here along with Torrance PD, and they cordoned off this portion of the beach. When our assignment desk originally called us, they said we need to go out to Beach Club Drive out in the Ranchos, Palos Verdes Estates area. So we made our way over here. You know, we couldn't find that Beach Club Drive. I believe that that's going to be that access road that you see right there with that with the fire department and some Torrance PD officers right there, and we were just kind of looking around in the area, and that's when this slide actually happened, really truly in front of our cameras. The land being stable up there, my goodness, I couldn't even imagine or guess, but I know when those rains start happening, if they really start coming down, I'm sure more of this hillside is going to break free and slide down onto that beach area. As far as people being out here, Sandra and Brooke, of course, like you said, it is very, very cold, and there's very few people anywhere down here on the beach at all today, except for those firefighters and those first responders that were here basically to keep the public away from this spot. And then, of course, in this case, it really was what they needed to do. When that slide came down, if there would have been anybody down there, there would have just, sadly, there would have been like no hope at all. But that truck, just watching that truck move sideways like that, just getting pummeled by that rock in that huge slide, that hillside, all that dirt and debris just pushing it out of the way, it really gave you a sense of that force. And of course, you can see how much beach it has taken away as well. Before that slide, you had about that much beach right there. I could venture to say probably about, I would say, 25, maybe even 35 yards. Maybe, no, that would be too much. 35 feet. And now it's basically down to the water line. So that's a lot of debris and dirt that came down that hillside today. And again, thank goodness nobody was hurt. And I believe the name of the road that house is on that we're looking up there, that's going to be Rosita Place. And also, we haven't seen any first responders out there. We haven't seen anybody door knocking. I'm sure the home itself probably in a pretty stable place, but portion of that backyard today, is actually down on the beach.
It is just terrifying to look at and amazing to look at the same time, Stu. Rosita Place up there, that's the street that we're looking at right in front of us. But, you know, what we know at this point, no reported injuries. Officials believe no one was hurt. We've been talking about how rare it is to see people, especially around this time there. No word on any evacuations at this time, too. But as we've been talking about, Stu, we're looking forward to a wet weekend. And so this area that is already has a high risk of mudslides, has a high risk of falling rocks. I'm assuming the risk is even bigger after this. For anyone who's just tuning in, Stu, you were already over here because of reported mudslides, right? Tell us what was going on.
Well, you know, our assignment desk, they're always on it. We have, I believe it's Dave in Miami out there today, and if it's not Miami, I'm sorry for whoever who's sitting next to Dave. But they basically gave us a call and said, hey, make your way down there. We're hearing that there's a road has slipped or there's a mudslide happening. We couldn't get any kind of solid information on where this is. Solid, not a pun on words. And so we made our way down here like we always do, just kind of looking around to see what we could find. And this is basically the area that we found. The fire department was already here, along with a lot of Torrance PD. You can see some of the vehicles down there. Of course, the lifeguards here as well. And they were basically keeping people away from this area. And we were just kind of scoping it out. We saw the fire truck over here by that beach club. And then we started figuring out, okay, that makes sense. This is going to be Beach Club Drive. Making our way back over to the area where the slide was, that's when I kind of noticed that spot where the rocks were on the beach. And you could see that there was an actual slide in that area. And then Dylan, he's the savior today. I mean, he's a pilot. You know, they always have that kind of cocky attitude, and there's a reason why, because they deserve it. We were just kind of looking around, and he just called it out the way it is. He said, go wide, go wide, go wide, because I was tight on this portion of the slide, and that's when we captured that whole hillside coming down.
All right, coming up at the top of the hour right now, 11 o'clock, you're joining us on KCOP Channel 13 right now. We are covering breaking news at this hour. A cliff collapsed in Palos Verdes Estates. You are looking at a portion just south of Torrance Beach, just north of Palos Verdes Beach Athletic Club. This is taking place right off of Rosita Place in Palos Verdes, a very beautiful, scenic area where multi-million-dollar homes are located, but the threat of geological movement and the cliffs are definitely a factor. And there you're looking at the beach club right now, Palos Verdes Beach and Athletic Club. No threat to them, but take a look at what Skyfox captured just moments ago when they actually saw the cliff come down in that area. Thankfully, no injuries to report, no evacuations at this hour, but clearly law enforcement officials trying to get a handle on this situation to cordon off that area. Thankfully, it is so cold out there. Not a lot of people were on that beach, and it is not a beach where a lot of people particularly populate because it is so cold, but it's also very difficult to get to, as you can see, with all those cliffs right there. But we are talking about a portion that is just south of Redondo and Torrance Beach. Again, a very scenic area for the PV area and the community.
Stu, talk to us about what you're showing us right now.
Oh, I was just I was taking a look there. I was going to show you guys, with all the technology we have in our helicopter, I like playing with the buttons and knobs, and I was trying to figure out exactly how far it was. So you've got about 153 feet of beach right there. That's what I was trying to figure out earlier on, and boy, I was off, wasn't I? And so you can actually see that it was 153 feet, so you've probably got more than 150 feet of slide that came down onto that beach, pushing it almost right up to the water. That other marker right there, there's points of interest on our maps, and that actually, that's the name of the beach right here. This portion of the beach is called Rat Beach, and you can see right there, that's where this actual slide happened, very close to one of the lifeguard towers. It was spectacular to see, and I can say spectacular because we know nobody was hurt, and that slide just coming down, it just shows you the power of Mother Nature and how unpredictable things can be. We did have rains, but those were so, last week and stuff, we would never expect any kind of slide like that with the way the weather's been. We don't have any winds, we don't have any rain, but today they did have a small slide first. I believe this is what brought the first responders out here, is this pile trail right there. And they made their way out here, saw that, understood what was going on, and then cordoned off the beach. And then after that, that big slide happened. We were here, we saw it, we got it on tape. And, you know, I'm kind of wondering, I mean, I'm sure that we're going to have a reporter come down there, but I got to wonder if maybe this person that was inside that truck, clearly they have, you can see the trash cans around it, and they probably are some sort of maintenance. I wonder if they were here and they were the ones that originally saw the first slide and made those original calls. And this is all just speculation because that truck was sitting in the spot where they had it all cordoned off. So I wonder how this whole thing came about, who notified whom about that. But right now, you can see that a huge portion of the beach is closed, and this is all happening after a huge slide that happened out here.
This going out into the water about 150 feet there. And Stu, you know, just looking at that truck, we cannot get enough of this video. You saw this live, but we cannot get enough of seeing this video over and over again. But just looking at the tires on that truck sitting there, that tells a story in itself. This truck wasn't rolling. This truck was being pushed fast on its side.
Yeah, this truck was parked, and then that slide just came down and just pushed it like sideways. It was, and you can see how it kind of was digging in right there. And it also gives you an idea, if there would have been somebody in there, thank goodness, you would expect them to have been okay if there would have been a driver. But what a wild ride. And of course, if there would have been a little bit more of that dirt, that truck would have just been covered. It is pretty impressive to see just the force of Mother Nature and all this dirt and debris coming down off that hillside this afternoon. And of course, thank goodness, first responders were already there. They had this area cordoned off. Nobody was near where that happened. And again, nobody is making their way over there now. You see that. Even the fire department, we did see one fire official, I believe it probably was one of the fire captains from LA County Fire, right after it happened. He was over here and he made his way across, clearly not climbing over, but giving it a wide berth, and made his way over to the other side. Right now, the fire department's still here on scene, and the police department and the lifeguards all keeping that beach clear. And we haven't seen anybody up here as far as first responders, so clearly this portion is not unstable. It was just these people's backyard right here off of Rosita. I keep saying Rosita place out here in the Ranchos Palos Verdes Estates area.
Just judging by that pickup truck, as we've been watching, being pushed from the earth, by the earth, because of that cliff collapse, it does look like it's a Beach and Harbor Patrol vehicle, which is in charge of a lot of the maintenance along the beach. You can see a couple of trash cans, I think, in the bed of that pickup truck, perhaps doing some cleaning in the area. But again, who knows if that maintenance person or those workers knew of the fact that this was happening. There you see Los Angeles County beaches and harbors. Yes, they all go up and down the coastline, maintaining a lot of the facilities, taking care of the restrooms, as well as maintaining the lifeguard stands, and of course all the trash and the cans you see right there. But this is an area in the South Bay known for beach erosion. That's a big issue right now. Beach erosion, as well as a lot of the retaining walls up and down the coast in the South Bay, have been an issue. They have been in terms of being looked at and checked at. So clearly, it's been an issue for a long time. They know that the ground is shifting, that there does need to be maintenance. But this is a massive one, and Araxia lives in the area, knows the area well. Is she joining us now?
Araxia is joining us now. Yeah, Araxia, you're very familiar with this area, at least, right?
Yes. Hi, guys. I hope you can hear me because my service is a little spotty. So I apologize if we get disconnected. But yes, I'm familiar with the area. And actually where this is near Rat Beach. And Rat Beach is right between Palos Verdes and Redondo. And then it leads to Torrance. So it's called Rat Beach because it's right after Torrance. The beach club, the Palos Verdes Beach Club, Athletic Club, is right there. What you're looking at, you see there's these big condos there, just so complex. And right near there is where this occurred. So, you and watching because I wasn't in today. I got a call. So, talk about this. So I was trying to catch up and figure out exactly where this is. But there's this, and you know what? There's actually even a trail. People take that trail and it leads them down to the beach area. You can also take a different trail and go down to that beach area from the beach club. So, you know what? We're actually lucky that people, I understand no one was hurt, because people do.
It looks like we're looking at the trail right now.
Yeah, and if you also notice, there was a lifeguard tower, right? Not very far from where the slide occurred, because that is a very popular area for young kids to hang out. I did that as a kid. You know, after you'd get out of school in high school, you'd go down to the beach club, you'd make your way down to the area, and you'd kind of stay closer to the lifeguard tower, and that's exactly where you would camp out and hang out. If you can fill me in as far as the truck, what was the truck doing there? Because I did see that truck there, and I didn't really understand why there was a truck there.
It looks like it's a maintenance truck, and I'm glad you're familiar with the area, Araxia. You know, the blue and white beach and harbor patrol trucks that are in charge of maintaining the shoreline. They come along and collect the trash cans and make sure everything is clean in terms of the facilities, the restrooms. They check in on the lifeguard towers as well. You'll see them going up and down the coastline. So that is what looks like got hit from all that falling debris right there. And then you see other vehicles as well from Skyfox showing lifeguards right there, as well as law enforcement and Beach and Harbor Patrol. So that's the situation that we're looking at in terms of what Skyfox is showing. But Skyfox also showing that that walkway you were talking about, which leads from the beach club to this area of Rat Beach. But thankfully, you know, it is cold. Not a lot of people swimming at this hour or today. And obviously, it's off season.
Do we know if anyone was inside of that truck? Have we?
No injuries to report right now.
No injuries, but there was someone inside the truck. Stu was talking to us. There was someone inside the truck, and Stu actually was wondering if that is the person who was here doing regular patrol, if that was the person who first alerted authorities to the initial mudslide, to the initial issue.
Yeah, that's right. You know, nobody was inside that truck for sure when this slide happened, but the way it was parked right there, I would guess that they were out there doing maintenance, probably trash patrol, checking the area, whatever, all their duties that they perform, and they must have come across this portion of the slide. If they were here when it happened or if they just noticed it, that is unclear, but I'm speculating. I'm totally speculating that they were the ones that made that original call. Roxy, I'm not sure if she can actually see the picture, but the fire department was here well before that slide happened, along with Torrance PD and, of course, the lifeguards as well. They were in this area. They had it cordoned off. They had the caution tape up. That path that she was talking about from the parking lot to the beach club down to the water, this is it right there. This is the actual path that Roxy has been talking about. I'm pretty sure, because it matches everything that she was talking about. You can see one of those law enforcement vehicles already parked right there. So they knew something was going on. They were here. They were keeping the public away. They were keeping an eye on that situation. That fire truck actually up on that parking area above the beach club. So they had fire trucks here, the fire department taking care of business. I'm not sure if they door knocked that house that's on with the backyard of where that slide came from. Rosita Place is the name of the street. It's roughly the 2000 block, 2100 block. We still haven't seen anybody in that backyard or any first responders up there. And then I'm not sure about those condominiums that she's talking about, but there are a lot of condos right here. We did see some activity in that driveway. Nobody making their way over to the edge, which I think is probably the smart thing to do. But we did see some folks out here in that parking lot just moments ago. Everybody probably curious about what that huge noise was. I couldn't imagine what that sounded like, though, with all those rocks and dirt just coming down on that beach side, onto the beach this morning. It must have been just a powerful noise. But again, no injuries. I'm going to bring up the map one more time just to show one other thing. And Roxy is 1,000% correct when she says that this is Rat Beach, because even our map says right there, it's actually, the dirt almost landed on the icon that says Rat Beach. So this is directly where that's happening. So roughly 150 feet to the wall, to the cliff, to the water, and now it's just about 58 feet. So it's about 100 foot of dirt or debris that just plowed onto the beach today that came off that hillside. It was amazing to see Thank goodness nobody was hurt. And of course, all these first responders, you can see it. Nobody's getting near it. So right now, they're pretty sure that hillside's still very unstable, and the possibility of another fall clearly could happen.
And if you're familiar with a lot of the South Bay beaches, you can see the difference between Rat Beach and the aerials you're showing us. There's very little sand when you're talking about the amount of sand between the water line and the cliffs right there. 153 feet is all you're really playing with right there, Stu. And when you go on to look at Redondo Beach, Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, there is a wide swath of sand leading up to the water line. So Rat Beach isn't a particular beach where you do a lot of volleyball or sunbathing or this and that. It's kind of, as Roxia mentioned, someplace you might lay down a towel and sit out, but it's not one of those real recreational beaches. And you can see right there why, because the cliffs really butt up along the edge of the sand line right there. Very little sand clearance until you hit the water. And if you go down further south, Stu, as you can see from your aerials, you do see a lot of rocks. And that means along the cliffside, along PV, a lot of those beaches are lined with rock. So this has been a situation for some time when you talk about the geology of that area. If you walk all along that shoreline, you know that you're going to start encountering more and more rocks as you make your way down the coastline right there, as you head more along to PV, as you're showing us right there, Stu, perfectly from Skyfox. So it really kind of shows you the difference in terms of how that coastline changes as you go further down south towards PV. But clearly a situation that law enforcement, first responders, lifeguards know about, those cliffs. And there's a reason why only on certain areas kind of west of PV Drive, which this has happened, PV Boulevard, are there allowed to be some homes. And some areas they are not allowed to develop. Obviously pricey, precious coastline views that people would want to develop homes, but they're not allowed because of this very situation. But you are seeing someone's backyard being basically demolished, or a little bit at least, in terms of what we're seeing here because of the erosion or the cliff collapse right here in PV Estates.
It was, it really was something to see for sure. And then, of course, you've got a lot of that foliage right there. Some of those actually look like trees that have made it all the way down to the actual beach area right there. A lot of their backyard now really, truly is beachfront property. And you also can see the different colors inside that dirt. A lot of that topsoil probably placed there for that beautiful green backyard and those trees that were growing in that area. And then, of course, that different colored sand that's, you know, that has no minerals in it at all, but that is the cliffside right there, and a lot of that was filled with those huge boulders that Sandra was just talking about. Those boulders, just one of those could easily have destroyed that truck. A lot of that dirt and sand was what plowed that truck off to the side, moving it along the side towards the shoreline. Don't know how far it moved, but I would venture to guess probably 20, 30 feet. It wasn't covered by that rock and debris. It was basically pushed. But again, this all happening out here, and again, the first responders are here on scene. They're keeping folks away from the beach area. We haven't seen much activity up on that top side. A lot of the homes next door, we haven't seen anybody really come out. It makes you wonder if they're even home this afternoon, or it's still morning. Right there you can see they have a different type of setup. They've got that retaining wall that brings them out over that cliff, and then that neighboring house a little bit farther back, a lot of foliage right there. But this house, it was right up to the cliffside. That fence hanging there, that was actually part of their property. And all that property basically slid out from underneath that fence. That fence just hanging there, holding on to some of that foliage. That's just roots and greenery that's just hanging there right now. But you really got to wonder, with that rain's coming and what's going on, and then you can see these huge cracks in the side of the hill right there. You kind of wonder if there are going to be more slides out here in the next couple of days.
I was going to say, yeah, you could see the difference, because that house only has that little fencing, not a retaining wall, as you were mentioning, Stu, and that is a big issue, not only here in PV, but all along the coast of the South Bay. The retaining walls all along the beaches. I know there's intensive work being done by local officials to really restore those retaining walls, because they are leaning, there are cracks, and that is a big public issue right now going on along the South Bay.
Yeah, this is something that I'm learning about just because we're here, and this is not an area that I go to too often. I do ride my bike sometimes along those bike paths, but I never make it quite this far. And but it's something that's much like a lot of people watching. They might just make their way down here to take a look and see what happened. I'm sure the fire department and others won't appreciate that right now, but after it's all said and done, looks like a really great place to be. It's kind of very, like you were saying, it's kind of that's that last bit before it becomes just rock. There's some beach right there. There's a lot of sand. It's like a reclusive little place. It's probably very quiet and private, except for today when the hillside came tumbling down right onto that beach.
Right. Yeah. Best idea right now is to just stay at home and keep your TV on and watch us replay this amazing video. Because yes, Stu, as you keep pointing out, the emergency officials are staying pretty far back because there's only so much you can predict when things like this happen. Once again, you were out because of a report of a mudslide. Talk to me about how quickly this all came down, because you all moved fairly quickly, opening the camera up so that we could see this amazing video. Yeah.
That's right. I can. You know what? I love telling this story over and over again because up here in Sky Fox, it's always a team effort. Usually it's the two of us up here, the pilot and myself. And today we made our way out here, and we both are working the story. We got out here. We had information from our assignment desk, and they were telling us, it's like a puzzle. You really got to put it together sometimes. And that's really how a lot of the stuff we get is done. They gave us a name of a street that we couldn't find. They gave us a location, and we made our way, the location being the city, and we made our way down here. And when we got to the shoreline, the first thing we did see was a lot of police presence here on the sand. So that brought us over to this portion of it. And then we were looking around, and of course we saw that fire truck parked in that parking lot. We looked over there first, totally skipping over this area, because usually the fire truck is going to be pretty close by to where the problem is or whatever needs to be rescued. So we saw that fire truck, then I saw this road, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is the name of that street, because they gave us a Beach Club Drive was the name of the road that was apparently the slide had happened at. Well, our map doesn't show this as any kind of road at all. It's more of a path. Then we were making our way over here. I was looking at this pile of dirt and thinking, okay, this must have been the slide. This is the area where it happened. And then, of course, Dylan started just saying, go wide, go wide, go wide. It's happening right now. That's his exact words. And I did. And then we captured that slide, that whole hillside coming down.
Oh, what a crazy situation. And obviously, yes, very dramatic situation that you caught right there flying in Sky Fox. And just, gosh, you really feel for the resident that is affected by this. But you got to wonder, again, as we've been talking about, the infrastructure involved in owning a multi-million-dollar home right on the cliffside. And there you see a closer look at the Beaches and Harbor truck that was basically crushed by this falling debris, the rocks obviously pushing that vehicle closer to the water line. But clearly, thankfully, nobody was hurt in all that, and nobody was inside that truck at the time of that slide. Wow, just such powerful images.
It is, and Sandra, as you were pointing out, the beach is, it's a small beach. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of land from, the cliff there to the water, and this collapse fully encompassed it.
What a scary situation. Thankfully, it's in the middle of almost winter now, mm-hmm. So it is just frigid out there, not a lot of beachgoers. Can you imagine if there were families, just hanging out right there? Thankfully, it's not a very populated beach, even during the summer months. Obviously, people do like to launch their kayaks and paddleboards from that beach. But again, judging by all the South Bay beaches, there's very little sand clearance right there from the cliffside to the water line.
And just also judging by how far emergency crews are keeping back away from this, this is what we're dealing with right here. This is the risk that we're dealing with right here. Sandra has already said that walking the area, you're pretty familiar with the area as well, and walking this area, biking in this area, there are signs, there are warning signs, falling rocks, and indeed, that's what we saw today. So you are looking at video of a cliff collapse in Palos Verdes Estates. This happened just moments ago, actually just about less than an hour ago. Stu Mundell and Sky Fox caught this live. Araxia is now over the area and can tell us a little bit more about this location and what we're looking at. Araxia?
Hi there, guys. All right, so I have now better access and better visual as to what we're looking at. I'm standing actually right above where that landslide happened, and I do see the truck right below me. There's no one around this vicinity. It's all cornered off. And as you've been showing, I'm sure with Skybox, you see that.
Roxia.
Oh, you see me? Okay.
Top. Yes.
Yes, that's me.
I know you have your day off, but you're always working.
I know. I don't zoom in. I apologize for my appearance. So I'm standing right over this. And as I was saying, so there's this giant condo complex right here. And there's a trail. There are actually a number of trails. There's a trail that people can come and where I'm standing, sit and watch the view, take in the view. This is private property, though. I have access because I know some people here, but you can't just come here. But there are people who hang out in this area. And if you look to the left of me, basically, that's where the beach club is. This is where the landslide happened. You see the fence. I see it perfectly right now. It's bent, and I do see how all of that soil and the rock just fell down below and went all the way up right almost to the edge of that water. And what I was saying is there's a trail by the beach club where you make your way over and you walk towards Rat Beach, which is where this truck is. This is Rat Beach. Oftentimes, people are right in the exact area where all that debris is. So it's just really amazing to me that no one got hurt, even though it's cooler now and people aren't laying out. It's not really beach weather. You have a ton of surfers down here. You have a ton of people who just walk and hang out in that exact area. That's how you would make your way all the way. And if you want to continue further going along the beach, you can take your walk and go through Redondo, to Torrance, Redondo, that sort of thing. There's also another trail to the right of me where you would make your way down this other side of the hill, and you can also have access. There's a gate, and again, this is private property, but you could have access and you have a gate that leads you down to the beach as well. I did talk to some people. They didn't want to go on camera who live in the area. They didn't seem all that disturbed by it, and they're like, yeah, you know, it's TV. Things like this happen. They're just happy no one was injured.
Absolutely. Be safe, first of all. You look like you're on the edge right there.
Back up for us a little bit, okay?
And clearly you're familiar with this area, but there is a little bit of an attitude if you do live on the peninsula in the South Bay, especially along the cliff sides, that this is kind of something you should always be aware of. And there are definitely signs, as you know, Roxia, throughout PV and throughout the South Bay that says, beware of falling rocks, beware of unsteady ground. I know when I cycle through the area, I see those a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you live in this area, it's not really uncommon. Actually, I just ran into someone. Hi, how are you? Nice. Do you live? I live here. Yeah. Can I actually talk to you? Is that okay? You're on Fox 11. We're streaming the breaking news coverage. You're not on air. No one can see you. It's just your voice. Oh God, I don't think I know. Well, I'm just going to ask you. Tell me the area, and you said to me, "Oh my gosh, did anyone get hurt?" And I said no. Which is good. I live in the complex, and there have been helicopters for the last little while, and it's not uncommon because there's a lot of, they do search and rescue, in case the swimmer gets out, so I kind of thought it was that, but it seemed like it was lasting longer, and so I came out just to see what had happened, and I saw in Citizen that there was a landslide, so I came out to look, and I just wanted to make sure no one was hurt. Are you shocked to see something like this? We've only lived here a few years. I didn't even know. I mean, of course you could understand that it could happen. I never knew that it did happen here, so I am very shocked. Yeah. And thank God no one was hurt. That's most important. Yeah, absolutely. What was your name? It's Elizabeth. Elizabeth, thank you so much. I put you on the spot. Thank you. I appreciate you chatting with me. I hope we're able to hear some of that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Okay, and did you hear Elizabeth, the woman I just bumped into?
Yeah, almost a little bit shocked that this happened.
But she's only been in the area for 2 years.
Exactly, so she hasn't quite gotten into this is what happens around here.
She's a little, she's a little newer to the area. But, I'm looking right now, and from Skybox, I know you had a better shot. It looks like it's almost kind kind of at the edge of, was that someone's backyard? I can't tell because right now there's a lot of the tall trees covering the in front of me, so I can't see past the fence. But is there a home right there?
There is what looks like one green, like a putting green, and there is a little area to sit, like a table, and there's a pool. The pool was not impacted.
It looks like that is where the land was unstable, and that is kind of the source of where that came down. It's always a danger with many homes that are built so close to the cliffs. In fact, they had to demolish one of the homes. We call it Pregnant Point here in Palos Verdes, but as you're making your way into Palos Verdes, it's a popular area where people go, park, watch the sunset, take lots of pictures. And there was a home, it was one of the last homes on the right, where it was literally on the tip of the cliff. And they, made the call to demolish it, and people hadn't lived there for years, but they were still, I think law enforcement was using it off and on for certain things, but they made the call to just demolish that home.
We actually want to bring in Captain Sheila Burko, actually with LA County Fire, to tell us a little bit, join this conversation, tell us a little bit about what we're seeing here.
Hi there, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, good afternoon.
Hi, yeah, our resources were dispatched about 10 o'clock for the hillside that came down. It's about 200 feet, and it did come down onto the beach. At this time, there are no structures threatened and no injuries, but they are monitoring the situation, and then they have people coming out to assess the hillside just to make sure of its stability.
Was there any heads up about this or any indication this was happening? We got the call that there could have been a situation, and as Stu and Skyfox was overhead, we saw all of that debris come tumbling down onto a beach and harbor truck.
It's scary. From the gentlemen that are on scene and the crews that are on scene, they seem to think there wasn't really a warning. It just let go.
And have you seen situations like this play out in that area? I know there's plenty of signage, and people who are familiar with that area for decades kind of know the situation, but has this been a problem in recent years? What have you encountered?
I feel like it's always on the table. You always have to be careful when you're in that area because there's the potential, and with the change of weather and the rain and the water, that will always add something kind of under the surface and under the soil, which starts to move things. So, they're beautiful views from over there, but boy, you sure got to be careful as you're walking along and just really pay attention to your surroundings.
Yeah, Captain Burko, we actually just saw a drone. Our Skyfox view shows a drone. Does that belong to LA County Fire?
I have to get back to you. I don't know if we've deployed one of our drones, but we do use drones in situations like this. And they're super helpful. If it's not one of our drones, we ask that the public make sure that they are not in our operational area because that can cause issues. But we do deploy them and use them for certain situations. So I have to get back to you whether or not our team has one out there.
And Captain Burko, knowing the South Bay and all of the issues of beach erosion, plus all the retaining walls that are being inspected right now, not only in PV, but along Redondo, Torrance as well, was this a particular issue? You're looking at these multi-million-dollar homes really up close to the edge of the cliff.
It does look scary, right? I can only personally comment. If I lived or worked around there, I would constantly be inspecting those hillsides.
Mm-hmm. So at this point, Captain Burko, no structures threatened, no injuries. We're got to find out about that drone, because you can imagine people watching this, people see this, people are somewhat familiar with the risk and what could happen. There are going to be people who are going to want to see and get as close as they can. But the emergency officials are still right now at this time staying pretty far back. What do you want the public to know?
Yeah, absolutely. You got to be careful because if some of it, we don't know what's going on underneath. So it could be just that one little bit of hillside that came down. You guys remember, 15 years ago when La Conchita hillside came down, it all of a sudden just let go and everything came. So it's not something to play with. You must stay away. Let the professionals get in there and assess it and have the engineers come in and check that out and just see where they stand, because that's the process that it's going to go through. If it's just a small little incident and it's done, or if there's more to come. So let the professionals get in there and do what they do best.
We appreciate your time, Captain. Just one more quick question. What happens from here? You say engineers are coming through that area. They're going to reassess the stability. How long will that take?
That I do not know, but I guarantee you they won't stop until they really are sure that the whole area is safe. So if you are the general public, please stay back, stay out of the operational zone while everybody does what they're supposed to do to make sure the public is safe.
All right, stay out of the zone, stay safe. Captain Sheila Burko with LA County Fire, thank you so much for chatting with us right now. I want to bring in Maria Quaban, meteorologist here, to talk a little bit about how the weather may have impacted what we just saw. Maria.
Yeah, you know, when you're looking at this, Brooke, you think, well, wait a minute, it's really dry, it's been sunny, so how did this happen? And part of it is because of that back and forth of the drought conditions that we've had. We've had really virtually almost no rain for the last several years, and we've been talking about this being the third year potentially of drought conditions. But what's interesting is that we actually did get quite a bit of rain last month, which is a surprise, but a welcome surprise. Now we're looking at a little bit more rain expected for us here, maybe some tomorrow morning, and then a little bit more in the afternoon with a greater amount of rain expected tomorrow night into Sunday. So this is very concerning when we talk about some of the ground out there, some of the soil that may be vulnerable to more of this. So as the captain said, if you might remember that La Conchita landslide that was several years ago, maybe 12, 15 years ago, up closer towards Santa Barbara County, it happened after the storms had passed. So it kind of came as a surprise to everyone, as this one is. And this video is really dramatic as we're looking at this right now and covering that truck down below. So it's really important to stay alert over the next several days, as now we're watching another colder storm that's going to approach, then I think will make some of these areas even more vulnerable to some of this happening.
How about the cold, Maria? Because it has been very cold, as you've been showing us the calendar every day, that it's under normal temperatures, below normal temperatures. Is it the contraction too? Because you know, when it's cold, everything contracts.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point. Sandra, it's that back and forth that I was telling you about, not just when it relates to the wet weather and the lack of the wet weather and that dry condition, but also the temperatures have something to do with it. Absolutely. We have had some really cold temperatures as of late, not just the daytime high temperatures, but also the overnight low temperatures. As you've noticed, every single day this month thus far, with the exception of one day, we have had well below average highs. So that can play a factor into what's happened, I'm sure. I don't know what some of the other factors are. It could be related to a sprinkler or a water main, but the weather will most definitely have some impact or some effect for sure, and especially as we look ahead to the forecast that's coming this weekend. And, you know, we talked about the amount of rain that we could be seeing. It could be anywhere from 1/2 an inch to 1.5 inches of rain between Saturday and Monday for the coast and valleys, and rainfall rates of 1/2 an inch to potentially 3/4 of an inch per hour. When we talk about that kind of rainfall rate in a short amount of time, when you look at these hillsides that now evidently, as you can see, already going to be compromised, could really be vulnerable to more of this as we look ahead to this weekend.
Of course, and then when you're thinking about and looking at and just seeing the visual of these cliff sides along the water, you do have those ocean breezes, the wind that is constantly whipping against these cliff sides as well.
The winds are going to be quite powerful this weekend. We are already seeing that high wind watch that was issued by the National Weather Service. That's going to be in effect tomorrow. At this point, that is the weather alert that we're talking about. The wind gusts could get up to 60 plus, even 70 miles an hour in some of those isolated areas over the mountains, and not out of the question for the coastal communities. And I think everyone's going to be already on the edge as you take a look here, what's just happened on this dry day, how much more in terms of the vulnerability we're expecting this upcoming weekend. I know a lot of people are going to try to get to the coast, as we always do. We live here in Southern California. We really do enjoy, especially the hustle and bustle of the holidays here coming up, that we're going to want to go to the coast this weekend. But this is really going to be the rule, not just along the coast, but I do want to give you that warning that about the mountains as well. The mountains, the foothill communities, and especially those recently burned hillsides, we're really going to be vulnerable to some of the mud and debris flows, but also more of these landslides potentially possible. Look at that home on the other side of that. I mean, if I were that homeowner, I would Or is that the club? That's the club, yes?
But there is a home. You're right. There is a home. We're looking at the backyard of a home up to the left, right? You're right, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. Okay.
And I'm completely with you. You know, we keep saying, you know, no one was hurt. No one has walked out to look because likely you're going to the car. You're getting out of there, at least for now. Maria, thank you so much. Also, thanks, Araxia. You are looking at, you know, Sky Fox catching live a cliff collapsing right there at Palos Verdes Estates. We are, I believe, right below Rosita Place, right? We are going to take a break right now. And, of course, make sure you tune back in for Fox 11 News at 5 p.m. Thank you for watching us.
We'll see you at 5.